The day has finally come. I have found the flower. It's real. I have proof. I can take you to it now. She shook the rifle in triumph, and her eyes filled with tears. The watcher could see her spirit unfurling itself around the moment, a banner of long-awaited hope. We will be free. Anyway, need to finish that book. But I'm here today because I want your stories.
Give them to me.
I want to read them on stream. I want to read whichever portion, whichever part that you would wish. There are 3 different levels. Number 1, I read your story for the first time and try to figure out the voices and such and the character proper narration while I'm reading the book for the first time. In a world of glass, the faintest sound or the slightest movement can crack even that which appears the strongest. The human heart is no exception to that rule. Enduring a typical dreary May night, Slade Allen sat alone with a glass of vodka in a corner booth of the Spinning Hat, a popular Detroit bar. Overbearing dance music pumped through the speakers as he spun his ice cubes. Obviously, he didn't quite belong, yet there he was amongst the glowing lights and the overpriced chandeliers. Level 2. I have read your story once, and I'm familiar enough with it to have a decent idea about the voices and how to do it for you. Yet it dawned on them that this was no ordinary storm. It arrived in a matter of minutes, and what started as a mild drizzle became a downpour. It looks as if we've chosen a bad time to visit Mother's grave, said Zolan, his voice barely recognizable over the howling winds. Well, it's too late now to change that. This storm is getting worse by the minute. We should find some cover. Perhaps you're right. He looked about them, spotting a lone acacia tree standing nearby. Its branches swayed violently in the wind, yet it looked safer than the path they were riding along. Lightning struck overhead. Zolan's horse whinnied in response. The youth tried calming the beast, as he could feel her panicked movements coming from underneath him. He kept her calm enough so that she followed his brother. They departed from the path, and soon they were both underneath the boughs of the large acacia tree. The wind howled in their ears, though it seemed that the storm was steadily abating in its intensity. Serathas had dismounted when there came another flash of lightning, this time causing the tree over them to erupt in a plume of flames. The 2 horses reeled in panic as they sped off in opposite directions. Serathas cried out in shock, seeing that his brother was carried away by his mare. It was only a short moment before they were separated, the downpour drowning out their shouts for one another. The rain pounded against his face. Following several attempts to rein in his mount, Zolan pulled back with all his strength. At first it seemed that the beast might stop then and there, before she turned. He felt himself leave the saddle. His hands groped along for any kind of hold, yet it was too late, as he landed in the mud with a crash. 3. I have taken my time, designed voices specifically suited to some of your characters, and I will even accompany it with music on occasion. The smaller of the 3 came to the chieftain's right side and inspected him. The side of his face was a tapestry of bloody fresh wounds. He was draped in a hooded robe, with a long, thin gray beard, and clutched a thick staff with a gloved hand. He needed to inspect the wounds for long. In the thick, guttural, orcish tongue, he said, "Thorgoth, you must heal, brother. Your wounds will prove mortal." The largest of the 3 approached the chieftain's left, a massive brute with a scowl as deep as he was tall. His chest was covered in a great dark beard. "Use your spells, Krennic, or have the gods truly abandoned you?" "The gods' magic has its limits, as do I, Gorvok," the robed orc spat. "It took all my strength to keep Thorgoth shielded from that elf mage with the golden mask. If I cast one more spell, it will take my life. Gorvot snarled.
Then what use are you? Is your brother your warlord? Not worth it. Enough.
Thorgoth, wounded as he was,
shoved muscled arms between his two brothers. He met Gorvok's sneer with his own.
Krana kept me alive. I will not hear another word of this bickering.
His threatening posture held for a moment, but his heavy, rattled breathing spoke of the effort it took. Silence took them all as the day's events weighed down on the survivors. Dread settled over their weary forms. Most of the assembled orcs were too downtrodden to be angered over the loss against such overwhelming odds. Even the three brothers, in their years of campaigning against the Crown Pantheon, had never seen such force directed against them. Cranach sighed, leaning on his staff.
They must have been truly desperate to call down the might of so many crowns against us. Many sigils, Nymeria, Phaland, Silveria, Nordenralth, the dynasty.
Thurgoth's voice rattled.
Not many. All. The Crown Pantheon emptied its armies into our valley. I thought it would be a generation until they found our city, hidden as it was. How desperate were they to ally as they did against us?
For all those who want their stories read live by the Ultimate Kahuna, you can find me on Twitter or on the A Drink with Crazy's Gilded page or on Twitter at the Ultimate Kahuna. 3 things will I require of you. Your name. 2, the portion of the story that I need to read. And 3, any notes in regards to how you want me to read it. I will do my best. And I will be reading them every week from here on out. Usually sometime in the evening. We want your stories. Woo!